Hi folks, and welcome back to the shack, or should I say the WTF garage. And we have got a load of stuff here which I have been collecting since the end of last year, just waiting to be dismantled. And most of this stuff here, as you can see, we've got a lot of old Cold War avionics. All sorts of interesting black boxes which are going to be scrapped. Loads of interesting things like this, and I thought I would show you some of these goodies as we go along, pulling them apart. There's lots of interesting vintage tech, vintage valve stuff here. All this stuff came out of old 1960s aircraft, believe it or not. Half the stuff I don't even know what it is. We've got weird stuff like a massive resistor. Even more weirder, huge potentiometers here, which I'm not sure we're going to use one of those for, but anyway. So what we'll do is take some of this stuff back inside, and we'll do a few little teardowns and show you some of this rather interesting vintage electronics. So the first thing we have up on the bench are a trio of rather sorry looking TR1985s. Now I don't know an awful lot about these transceivers, but I managed to find a bit of info on the internet, and these are basically VHF radios used in very early Cold War aircraft, probably Shackleton, something like that. And these are in really bad, unsalvageable condition. There's some severe corrosion. Some of the bits are missing off them, and yeah, not much to get out of these. But having said that, what we've got, which is worth salvaging, we've got a lovely IF strip here. Apparently the intermediate frequencies of these was about 9 megs. So we've got some nice IF transformers, which you can see there, which I think might be worthwhile taking. Most of these valves are CV4014s, which are equivalent to EF91s, a lot of them. What is interesting is the way this thing is sort of constructed. It's all sort of modular, and one of the things that interests me is this is actually the modulator unit. Now this transmitter used to put out probably about 5 watts at best, and I'll show you the PA unit in a minute, but the modulator unit is one here that's already been removed, and you've got like a microphone transformer there, and this is a audio transformer. And the basic construction of these was basically it's 2 little triodes, 2 6C4s, which sort of were in push-pull to modulate the HT. And I think you've got I think these are pentodes. I'm not quite sure which ones they are. So one could actually use this to make a small transmitter, actually. You can see, I bet you all those capacitors there are probably all knackered. Those resistors might be okay, but yeah, maybe a project for a rainy day. Let's just have a look at this one a little bit more. Oh, there we go, the IF strip on this one's already coming in. There we go. We just need to plug out of the way. Oh, that's free. And yeah, I think these IFTs will be quite useful. I might have to rewind them for something more useful. See what's in there. loads and loads of valves, and what I try and do is when I salvage these is take the valve, many of the valves, and the valve's not going to come out. Oh, there we go. And if you can see that, let's get into focus. CV131 I think it is. Yeah. I think that's some sort of pentode. IF. So there we are, we might be able to make use of that. Anyway, let's just show you the PA unit. Well, here's the PA unit for one of these, and the main PA valve, CV415. I'm not quite sure what that is in civilian parlance, but this is actually a double tetrode, I think, with a common cathode. So this was again, the PA was a bit sort of weird on these VHF rigs, in the sense that it was a push-pull type arrangement, which I think actually, to be honest with you, I think some other VHF equipment used a similar type of arrangement. So these sort of double tetrode things were not uncommon. But this transceiver, as far as I know, was sort of, it's all crystal controlled. In fact, that crystal there, I think is about, you can see that crystal down there is about 4.8 megs, I think, or 4.6, something like that, which is for the mixer. And again, hundreds of valves and everything, so it should keep the old stock of valves up, that's for sure. So this is the underside of it. You've got loads of sort of trimmers. Unfortunately, these are difficult to remove, and I'm not sure if they're really that worth the hassle. I know it's a nice looking, some nice looking VHF variable capacitors there, but to try and remove and desolder all these is probably just not worth the effort. But it's amazing how this was put together when you think about it. This was long before the days of automation. This was probably put together all by hand. So there should be some nice little bits coming out of that PA. Anyway, let's have a look at this. There's one unit here which is, I don't know, looks almost untouched. I think the box is difficult to remove. So we'll see if we can open it up and have a look inside. Well, I managed to get the box off this one, and I'm sorry to say it's also been got at some stage. However, it does have the power supply, the dynamotor, which unfortunately looks a bit in a sorry state, really. But that's the dynamotor there, which I think provides about somewhere in the region of about 200 or so volts, and also provides another some other voltages. Yeah, probably have to sling that. I think it's probably not going to be worth much. And let's have a look. So again, this, unfortunately, the PA valve here is broken, and IF strip, most of the valves are gone there. But these IFTs, again, I think you might be able to do something with those. These ones seem to be joined together. Oh, it's only plastic, so you might be able to remove that. Modulator unit, again, that might even come out. Yeah, it's stuck there. I think there's a plug or something holding that in. And let's have a look at the underneath. Got lots of little nice little chokes and things. underneath there doesn't look too bad, but it's yeah, I think you can say they weren't well looked after. I mean, I think these were basically destined to be scrapped. But we'll take a few bits out of these and see what we can salvage. So I think I might carry on with that. Get the old screwdriver. Start pulling some of this stuff apart. This is the PA unit, and it's got some really nice valve bases in, but I don't know how I'm going to get these out without knackering them. You can see these this is where the sort of driver valve and the PA valve were, and these are a sort of ceramic EF50 type valve bases, which are pretty rare at the best of times, and to have them ceramic is really quite nice. So those would be worth trying to get out, actually. And then we've got some sort of standard 7-pin B7A valve bases, which again are really nice ones. They're all ceramic. These are really top-notch valve bases, which people would pay a lot of money for, because most valve bases these days, they don't usually make them in ceramic. But unfortunately, I think trying to get those out is going to be a bit of a mission, I think. So sadly, I may have to throw in the towel and trying to get those valve bases out. Bit of a pity, but anyway. Well, with a bit of perseverance and brute force, I managed to remove this tuning capacitor unit, and it's got some interesting weird inductors and everything. I'm not sure if that's really going to be of much use, but I did manage to expose the ceramic valve bases, which I think will be worth having. We might be able to put some hot air or a bit of flame on those to try and loosen them up, because they're quite nice little trimmers actually. Might be useful for something. And there's some nice little RF chokes there, which again, not easy to get hold of these days. I've just taken apart one of these IF strips, and unfortunately, well, the valve bases are all sort of riveted in, which makes life a little bit difficult in terms of salvaging them, because you have to drill them out and they do get knackered by the drill. Anyhow, these are these funny IF cans that were in there. Quite unusual, because they're sort of like dual IFTs. I presume they are IF cans or RF units of some description. I'm guessing they're IFTs, but I've taken one apart, and you can zoom in on that. You can see they're quite nicely made actually. These are really sort of top quality individual air variable trimming capacitor, and I guess if we don't use it for an IFT, we can always use the formers, rewind them for something else, I guess. Trying to get formers these days is quite difficult. So anyway, take a few more bits and bobs out of these, and then probably bin most of it, I think. A bit sad, but anyway. Right, the next goodie we have up on the bench, ready to be disassimilated, is a what does it say here? Zero reader flight director type ZL.2 flight computer. Not really sure where it came from or what it actually does. It's quite heavy. but I think we need to open it up. It's got these little compartments here. Basically a screwdriver, and we'll see if we can take a look inside these. Ah, interesting. This one's a little bit... oh, there we go. So you've obviously got some pots here which are for adjusting things. Yeah, so let's open up this one as well while we're here. And a bit, let's try that. It's a bit stuck, that one. Try it like that, maybe. There we are. And if you move it up a bit. So we got a big connector there, some more sort of adjustable potentiometers. There's quite a nice switch there if I can get my fingers around it. A couple of fuses, nice little switch. Anyway, let's take it apart and see what's inside. Okay, we've taken the side panels off this, and you can see that there's a lot of modules and things. So we've got a lot of these which basically come out. So that's got a load of valves there which we can use. This is in actually really good condition. Some interesting old school electronics. But some sort of, I don't know what that's inside there, small signal transformers. So there's one of those. You can take all the valves out of that. That's a similar sort of thing. So we can pull that apart. That one also comes out. These actually got quite nice, good quality I think Jones connectors. I mean, this is hardly, this almost is as good as new condition. I mean, it's amazing, really. Follow-up amplifier. I mean, these days something like this would be on a simple integrated circuit, about the size of my thumbnail, if not smaller. And then we've got flight director type, an altitude unit as well, because there's a connector, if you can see it, there's a connector there which obviously some sort of pitot tube or some sort of thing for measuring altitude. And we've got big letters, do not jar, handle like eggs. Anyhow, let's see if we can take this bottom part apart and see what's underneath. I can see a selenium rectifier from the top, a couple of transformers. So underneath here, nothing terribly exciting, unfortunately. We've got a couple of 400 Hz transformers there, which if you're prepared to rig up to 115 volt 400 Hz inverter, might provide some various voltages. The rest of it is some power supply components, very old school selenium rectifier, filter caps, what else? A couple of relays. So not an awful lot worth keeping. Nice big Jones connectors there, possibly might be useful, and fuse holders. Again, this sort of stuff's quite useful to sort of, if you're prepared to dig it out, it's always useful to keep it in stock in the junk box for projects. Anyhow, let's Let's pull all this lot apart, see if we can salvage some valves, valve bases. I don't think there's going to be an awful lot worth keeping from this lot, to be honest with you. But I think the valve bases will be quite useful, and maybe one or two of these transformers we can keep. Right, next up on the bench we've got this interesting pair of black boxes, which, as you can see, are labelled, get it around the right way, leak detector. Now I think these are probably some sort of test instruments rather than sort of being in the actual aircraft. Some interesting writing there. Hartley Electromotives Limited, dated 17th of November 1970. Well, long time ago. That was probably when they were last calibrated. So quite heavy actually for what they are, and they've got some sort of knob there, whatever that does, sensitivity switch. So I think we'll open up one of these and see what's inside. Well, inside this, it looks a lot nicer on the inside than it does on the outside. So we've got a lovely Parmeco transformer there. A nice oil-filled transformer, which might be worth a bob or two. And got a little motor there with a fan on it. And this, unfortunately, is broken. It's some sort of glass. Let's see if we can zoom in on that a little bit. Get that way. I'm not quite sure exactly how that would work. Nice little light bulb with a holder. And underneath, oops, it looks like a CV, what is it, CV797. Not quite sure what that is, probably a rectifier possibly. Come adrift, or a voltage regulator actually, I think that might be. I think that is probably a voltage regulator. Selenium rectifier, old school. And we've also got what looks like a lovely little choke, a smoothing choke, which might be useful for something, but it's not going to take much current, I imagine. So some useful bits in there. A leak detector unit apparently. That transformer, we'll be looking forward to pulling that out actually, that will be quite nice. So let's carry on. Get the old screwdriver out. And I will be back very shortly. Just want to take a look at this Parmeco transformer that we pulled out, which is in very good condition, almost brand new. I don't know if you can read that, I'll just bring it a bit closer. So this transformer is a 175 center tap 175 volt at 30 milliamps. Not terrific amount of current, but these Parmecos usually will quite easily give almost double that. They were very much underrated. We've got some heater windings and also some other lower voltage windings. So this transformer might be quite useful for maybe a receiver project, or possibly you could possibly use it for an audio amplifier, something that's, you know, a few watts, if you were building a valve amplifier or something. So definitely worth keeping or flogging. So I've got a few more of these boxes to take apart, so there'll be a few of these transformers that I can pull out. I got the little fan with its motor, so I took a bit of a gambit and rigged it up to 12 volt supply, or I think it's probably 24 volts actually, so hopefully it should still work. That's 24 volts, which is pretty standard for aircraft. Quite nice. It's amazing it still works after how many years. It's almost as old as I am. Oh, there we go, interesting. Here's another one of these units which is in a little bit better condition, and the glass bulb here is intact. I'm presuming this light bulb is actually part of the whole thing. Maybe it works as some sort of a light absorption thing. If anybody knows how this works or is familiar with this bit of equipment, please feel free to leave a comment and explain how all this works. Be interested to know, actually. So this is the same sort of thing. So we'll take this one apart and get all the bits out of it as well. Okay, folks, I think we've got as much bits out of those components as we can, and I think that wraps it up for this video. Hope to take a few more of those interesting boxes apart in the next couple of videos, so stay tuned and keep watching.